Hey, Sean, a few years ago I made a plugin and I made a video about it and put it on Dropbox and then forgot about it and stopped using it after I updated my computer. It just wasn't migrated over. And I was working on a project lately where I'm like, man, I'm having this problem. Wait a second. I already solved it with a plugin that I made for myself. And so it's a plugin for making titles. And understand, I am really bad at design. I'm good at capturing things and framing things in my composition. I feel good about that. But like designing something from scratch, graphic design, I have no eye for it. And anytime I put titles on a screen, I always just feel gross about them. I never really like them. And so I lean on a lot of third-party plugins. And a lot of third-party plugins, there's a box that animates on or a logo or like everything's a thing. It's all a distracting thing that appears on screen. My favorite titles are the ones that just blend into the background. And you get to do this when you've been able to set up your shot in a way where there's like a blank space or some negative space in frame that you can put the title over. I love that. I love a good documentary when they've got that beautiful wide shot and they've got a wall or something where they can even make it look like the title's incorporated in the wall, maybe adjust the perspective a little bit. Love that. A lot of the time, I'm working much faster and I don't have the time to create those sort of things. Or we're filming in a place where there isn't that like perfect negative space. And so I wanted a title that wouldn't animate on, it wouldn't be a big obvious box. It would seem like it's just there very subtly. And so I made this one, which I forgot what I called it, but it's like a background blur opacity box thing. Let me show you how it works. So if it's something that you want to use, I pulled up a couple different frames here. My apologies for the freeze frames to my lovely volunteers that don't know they're volunteering. But each one of these backgrounds looks a little different, and there's probably space in this one where you could just sort of put something there in the background. But this one, you can see it's so busy that you're either left to like put something that like, animates on screen and pops up, which again, I don't like how distracting that is. I don't like how that's a thing. Or where it's, even more obtrusive, but less distracting, I guess, or less dynamic. So what I made is the subtle background blur, and I'll just drag this down onto the timeline and you can see what we're working with. At its default, we've got white text on sort of a blurry black background. And it's on the wrong side. I don't think I would want it on this side. So if we come over to our inspector, here's what I'm proud of for the first plugin I ever made. First of all, you can pick the justification if you want it on the left side of the screen or the right side of the screen. It's not a separate plugin. But you can see if it's on the left side, like everything's darker over here, and it makes sense to have the white text because it kind of pops over the darker background. But on the right side, we've got these like bright papers over here, and it's harder to read it. And so we can select the next thing of black text on white. And that's a lot easier to read. And then as we come down, we can adjust the vertical position of this, maybe find a spot where it fits pretty well. We can adjust the width depending on what the person's name is and their position. That may be a much longer thing where you need the box to be longer or shorter. So you can adjust the width of it. You can adjust the height of it. The roundness, which is the corner. It's hard to see right now, but I'll show that in a second. The feather of the blur. And I'm going to bring that all the way down so you can see what's happening here. And when it's not feathered, you can see that those corners, that's what we're rounding off. And then the blur amount is what you think it is. It's how much we're blurring this little box. And then the color opacity is, we've got a white box right now, black text in a white box. And so we can drag the opacity up until we can perfectly read it, and it is just a box. So the goal here is that you can put this on screen and kind of just fade these things down until you reach a point where it seems like it's just sort of there without being too distracting. And it's built where it animates on, takes about a half a second to pop on, and then it holds until half a second fade out. And that half a second stays true regardless of how long it is. I can shorten this, and it's still the same length of animation. And if you make it really long, it's not going to animate slower or anything like that. It's just going to hold that the whole time, except for the last half second when it fades on and off. Now, if we do another one of these, the nice thing about this is I have those defaults in there, and I think it defaults to Helvetica New, but it may default to whatever your default system font is when you add titles. But not only can you adjust the things that I've put here in the inspector and the white text on black, black text on white. For this one, I'm going to pull this over to the right so we're not obstructing those books. I'm going to raise this up a little bit Vertical position up a little bit, so we're just above the arm of the couch. I'll pull in my width a little bit. And then I'm also going to bring the blur down because I don't think we need quite as much. If we bring it all the way down, we start to lose the word position there. And so if I just bring it up a tiny bit, it's a little bit easier to read. And so that's the goal of this, is to create something which is just legible without being a box, without being an obvious thing on there. But the other nice thing is that all of this is fully editable. So I can double click the person's name and not only obviously change the name, but I can change all of the fonts. I can change all of the colors to be whatever I would want it to be. And you can do this for both the title and the subtitle, but it gives you full control to put whatever you want there in a place where it may not be good for just text to go without a box, but it's this compromise of a box. So this is what I built, and I end up using this all the time because I like this style of title where it's just text on the screen, where it fits in subtly without being a distracting focal point of anything. It's there to reference something. Hopefully people aren't paying much attention to it, and this is my method of getting people to mostly ignore it, I guess. So I put this on my Gumroad store, and I'll put a link in the description if it's something you're interested in. It's like a $0. You can pay for it if you want. You can put any amount in there, but it's also just put in $0, and you can download it and drag it to your movies, motion templates, title folder, and drop it in, and it'll appear in Final Cut like any of your other titles, and you get to work. That's all I got. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think, or if it has any problems, or if it's not working on your system, let me know, and I'll get it fixed. That's all I got. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever. See you later. Bye.